Hello, everybody. Welcome to my late night stream. It's not particularly late night, but it is 7 o'clock here in Chicago. This is Brown Michael Sarah, Kurt Santana, aka Courtney Love. Tonight we are doing Braving New Worlds. I normally called this Friends and Such, but I realized that the more and more people I invited on the show were doing things that are incredibly cool, incredibly fun, and to be doing that in this sort of like dystopian sort of existence is in itself an act of bravery. So hence the name Braving New Worlds. Tonight joining me is comedian Kate O'Connor, who I've met through a mutual using the social networks. She is the host of the California Boring Show, and we're going to be talking to her about that tonight. Depending on what the chat wants to do, maybe we'll be playing some games afterwards. I bought Red Dead Redemption 2 and Control. I downloaded Control, so that's kind of what I'm gearing towards playing later tonight. I am going to re-enable the channel point reward. If you want me to take a shot, we'll do a shot. And I'm actually going to update the title right now, too. Shots? Question mark? Update information. All right. And then, I guess, yeah, without further ado, let me introduce Kate O'Connor to the stream. Hey, Kate, how you doing?
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
Going pretty well. Where are you joining me from?
I'm joining you from my apartment in East Hollywood, Thai Town to be specific. I have lived here for about 2 months in this apartment. Lived in LA for about 4 months.
Congratulations. I really liked my time in LA. What was it like moving to... Had you lived in California before? Because you came from Chicago, correct?
Came from Chicago. I have never lived in California. I was born in New Jersey, grew up in Colorado, lived in Chicago for 6 years, and now I live in California. So kind of a zigzag across the country.
That's impressive. Were you ever into road trips? Is that how you traversed all around? Or was it opportunities is where you went to all these different places?
Just sort of wanting to move around and see what's going on in different cities. When I was young, my family moved from New Jersey to Colorado, so that was sort of like a big family move. And then growing up in Colorado, it's very beautiful, but I just wanted to live in a big city so badly. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like LA, Chicago, or New York. And I started dating this guy who was a very nice guy. I'm not dating him anymore, but him and I came to Chicago together. And I didn't know anything about Chicago. I had never been there. I moved there sight unseen.
Interesting.
Yeah, I moved there in the middle.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I moved there in the middle of winter, January 2014. Yeah, and it was like polar vortex. It was like the coldest winter since the 70s. Right. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, maybe like negative 30s or something like that.
Yeah, and I had never experienced cold like that before. Mm-hmm. And I remember like moving there and taking a walk around the block, like my first week of living in Chicago, and I didn't have a hat or gloves, and I got frostbite within like several minutes.
Oh my god!
And I was like, where have I couldn't believe there was a city in the USA that could freeze me as if I were, an Arctic explorer.
Right. Yeah. The Chicago winters are very unforgiving. It's like sometimes you're in an F. Scott Fitzgerald novel, sometimes you're in a Dostoevsky novel. And it can get real dreary really fast. I mean, that's what people say when they're talking about seasonal affective disorder. But
the winters in Chicago, they're intense.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess growing up in it, it's just a reality that I face, and I love like wearing layers. I always loved wearing layers when I was younger. Just because like I was the fat kid and didn't really want to show any sort of skin. You'd see me wearing hoodies during the summer and all that stuff, wearing t-shirts at the pool and shit like that. But it made winters that much better and easier to traverse in snow. There was this time in college where it was the Lego movie that just came out, and we had a day off because there was a blizzard. And I asked if people wanted to come see the Lego movie with me the next day. And maybe like 40 people responded. There was like lots of comments. This is like Facebook when I was back on Facebook. And I was like, wow, I was really geared about going to see the Lego movie with a bunch of people, like a crowd. No one shows up in the morning. I'm walking to the theater, which is maybe like less than a mile away, and like really hard compact snow. It's maybe like 2 feet. And I get to the movie theater, and all the employees are huddled around each other. And I know what they're discussing. They're thinking, should we close this place? Because no one's going to come.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
And then they see me, and you could see...
One ticket to the Lego movie, please.
That's exactly what I said, but it was also in 3D. I was like, oh, don't forget the 3D glasses. Nice. I was very annoying about it, just because I wanted to give them my patronage, and I wanted to see this movie, and I saw it all alone. So...
Wow, I'm surprised. I am surprised you saw it all alone because the Chicago winters are harsh, but the people who live in Chicago, Midwesterners, there's some kind of like cheesy saying that is like cold winters, warm hearts. The people in Chicago are very charismatic, nice people, and everyone, it's almost like a fun challenge to go out into the winter and keep living your life. And it's like fun because it's like, it feels very, well, you know, it felt dystopian at the time. Now we're in a dystopia, so.
Right. I think the only problematic thing about that is that I think that sort of metaphor translates to COVID. Where it's just like, oh, there's a pandemic. We're still going to go outside.
We can't be doing that.
You can't stop me from taking shots in Wrigleyville. Not me personally. But okay. That was a joke on my part. I'm very excited about learning more about the inception of the California Boring Show. Obviously, it came to you when you were in California. Was there a Chicago Boring Show?
There was. It started as the Chicago Boring Show. And I started it. I had the idea to start a live stream show right before COVID started. Years ago when Facebook added their live feature, I used to go Facebook Live, and I used to just do these kind of rambling, like, live shows. And the people who followed me, like, responded very well to them. And
that's great.
Years ago. Like 6 years ago when Facebook added Facebook Live. And it was almost like shit posting. You know what I mean? Like, I would just go live and I would just talk about, like, the snack I was eating or whatever. And I got really good responses. Oh, I did a funny unboxing on Facebook Live. I ordered, what was the gamer subscription service?
Gamefly?
It was like no, it was like, oh gosh, I can't remember the name. It's like a subscription box. And you order this like $30 mystery box, and you get a bunch of like gamer swag.
Loot box, maybe? I don't know.
Loot crate.
Loot crate. You had the loot crate.
I did a loot crate. Yeah, I did a loot crate unboxing because they released a Silent Hill loot crate, and Silent Hill is one of my favorite games. So I ordered this loot crate, this Silent Hill themed loot crate, and it came. And my roommate Thomas was like, "Let's do an unboxing video, just for shits and giggles." Mm-hmm. And I unboxed it, and I was so disappointed in this loot crate. It had the stupidest stuff in it. The only Silent Hill thing was like Silent Hill coasters, like these dorky, ugly coasters. And I'll send you the unboxing video. Everyone responded to it so strongly. Everyone thought it was so funny. And I was like, damn, you do like the most boring stuff on the internet, and people, if you do it the right way, people love it. Mm-hmm. So in the spirit of like sort of my history of going Facebook Live, I thought, why don't I do an actual show where I have like loose topics, and the topics will be stuff that I want to talk about. So it's going to be a very selfish show where I get really niche with what I talk about. Like I wanted to talk about, The Sopranos for like 40 minutes. And then when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like, okay, well, I already have this live stream idea. It's already cooked up. Mm-hmm. And it became a way for me to perform once a week and connect with friends. And the show started where it was just me monologuing for like an hour. And then my boyfriend Danny said, you should have a guest. It would be really funny to have a guest. And then the show just kind of took shape. we moved to California. I named it CBS, kind of cheekily,
Mhm.
you know? And so we moved to California. I changed the name to California Boring Show it seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to stream it on YouTube Live, and now it's on Twitch. I've taken suggestions from friends to kind of fine-tune the show and make it a little bit better. So it's been sort of like a personal, selfish project, but then like I'm open to suggestion with it.
That's great. I think we have the similar motivations on getting onto Twitch. Quick shout out to Cheyenne Barton in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. I am joined.
Hi, Cheyenne.
I'm joined here with comedian Kate O'Connor, who is the host of the California Boring Show. I'm going to give you a quick shout out in the chat. There are underscores in California Boring Show, right?
Yeah, California _boring show. And I named it the Boring Show because I wanted to set the bar so low that the bar was touching the ground. So people understood they were tuning into something that was probably not going to be that exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And very indulgent. I would say that it's a very indulgent project. So if I set the bar low and people just tune in, I made it Sunday nights because Sunday's like the most boring day.
Right.
And so the whole thing is like, let's just hang out and chit chat and, you know, lean into the boredom. And then the show ends up being like really silly, like sleepover energy, fun, you know?
Yeah, I get the most chaotic energy when I'm bored, which is why I'm on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally get that. Yeah. Indulgent content is the best to make, says Cheyenne. And I definitely agree. And the relatable aspect, or the part that I related to the most about what you were saying, is that the sort of like practicing of getting online once a week or monologuing, like working on your like presence, because you are a comedian. That's something that you do need to practice with, or at least that's what they would say in the improv world, and be like, practice, practice, practice. You still won't get a show on IO. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I consider myself a filmmaker, an artist of sorts, and I wanted to figure out how can I make content like just out and put it out there. I realized that I was playing video games every goddamn day, and it got boring. And I don't know if you felt this when the pandemic hit, but it's just all the things that we used to cope, the activities that we used for like coping mechanisms to make ourselves feel better, this sort of emotional isolation chamber sort of lost its appeal.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. I felt like when the pandemic hit, I went straight back into this teenage mode because it really felt like being grounded. We have our adult brains and we have these adult lives and things we want to do. We want to be completely in control of our lives the way adults are. Mm-hmm. And we got so many freedoms taken away. And also we had to stay inside. So it's like, I connected so deeply with my teenage self again, because it's like teenagers are like, they're little adult brains in like these kid bodies, these overgrown kid bodies. And teenagers have to stay home. They're not allowed to go, you know, get an apartment and go to cocktail parties or whatever the hell.
Right.
So what do? You just stay in your room and you like listen to records and you watch movies and you play video games and you like drench yourself in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like what everybody I feel like has been doing. Going
back to my indoor child like days, and I always think it's interesting. Hello, Antea, Citrus Citadel. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. Or lurking, actually. They're saying their eyes are hurting, so you definitely need as much time away from blue screens as you can. But yeah, it's interesting about early childhood development, and they consider, you know, the ages of like 3 to 5 to be like the most like, I guess, imprinting years. But I definitely think that most of who I was and who I like grew up to be was contingent upon the people I met during high school, or who I wanted to be during high school. And then college, and then the years after that up to this day was kind of just like taking that mask off and then figuring out what this face is, like who this person is. And I don't know, do you relate to that at all, or what was your experience in high school, and how has that changed from who you are today?
I feel like in high school I was a black sheep. I was definitely like very nerdy. I had a small group of friends, and we were all into the same nerdy shit. Like, we played Age of Empires 3, and we were in marching band, and it was like very cliche nerdy stuff. But I think in high school, a lot of cliches kind of stand the test of time, where you have these, I want to use the word normal, popular or normal kids, or kids who don't seem to be having that hard of a time making friends. Maybe I think everyone has a hard time in high school, but maybe like, the perception is like, I don't know, because those kids have a hard time too, those popular kids. I think like people assume they're okay, and they're all sort of like quietly suffering.
Right. I think the market is flooded with trauma right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I don't want to go for like a nerds versus jocks story, because everyone has a hard time in high school, but I think you want to find your people in high school, right?
Absolutely.
You want to find like the people who really get you.
I would definitely agree. And I didn't necessarily face that sort of cliquish environment when I was in high school. I went to a Jesuit high school, so it was mainly me traversing a very white dominated space, and growing up and thinking that your path to success is sort of like appeasing white people. So it was very much just like trying to get into their sort of environments that they didn't necessarily allow people of color to sort of just fall into. Because if there was any sort of like cliques that were in high school for me, it was like the Mexicans hung out with each other, black people hung out with each other. It was segregated almost, but it was just like, if you were black and Model UN, you would sit over there. If you were Mexican and you were part of the football team, you'd sit over there. But like you would transcend like a sort of like identity by becoming a part of like this activity that you partake in.
Right. The clique was sort of like the club or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And then I thought I was cool being like the tech part of theater. Just like, yeah, I'm going to join the theater kids, but I'm going to be in the tech side, so I'm going to be a little bit cooler than everybody else.
Yeah. The techies are kind of like, they get the job done.
So, what thought or what was the sort of like precipitation for you wanting to get into comedy? Was that something that started very young? Was this some like part of the media that you were watching?
I have always been sort of like this artistic child. And I think when you're an artistic child, especially coming from like a more kind of poor background, my family was I would call more of like a poor family. It can be scary for a family without a lot of money to have a child that's drawn to the arts, because you're sort of discouraged from pursuing the arts like over and over, or you're corralled towards a direction where it's like, okay, you can be an artist, but you should probably try and get into like computer graphics so you can work for Pixar. I feel like the message was like, it's okay to indulge in art as long as like a stable career is like the focus. And I think for like an artistic child, that's a very confusing message. But it comes from a place of like, your parents are trying their best, and parents worry about artistic children. So I think I just kind of dabbled in everything. And, I went to art school and I kind of dropped out. And then I was working at this clothing store and I was into fashion. And then you know what it was? I read Tina Fey's book. I read Bossy Pants. How many comedians do you think read Bossy Pants and were like, I want to do that? And I was like, I want to write. I want to do comedy. And I had some friends suggest like, oh, well, you should like try improv. I think my story is like super cliche, my comedy story. But, the reason I got into comedy is
necessarily like vocalized as much. I mean, like if you're in the comedy scene, you definitely know the story. But, it's such a bubble. It is such a bubble.
Yeah, totally. And then like I tried improv. And I was awful at it, like god awful at it. And everyone around me is like, oh, you're supposed to be god awful at improv. Everyone's god awful at it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm awful and I'm not having any fun either. And everyone's like, yeah, we don't have any fun either. And then after years of that, I was like, I think I might be a stand-up. It was like scary to admit that I wanted to do stand-up. There's like these weird, an artist is always like second guessing themselves and scared to name what they want to
Right.
do. So it like took me a little while to get around to sort of like stand up. Um, and comedy is just hard. It's like so difficult. And everybody's kind of like focused on their own stuff and they're like, I don't have time to help you. I'm trying to focus on my own comedy. And there's like no
Right.
money in it at all when you're all trying to learn. It's a free for all.
Truly. And what sort of themes were you trying to reflect in your stand-up when you were first starting?
Um, my friends used to make fun of me and say that my style was Kate's opinion. I would kind of like go off
Mm-hmm.
and I would have like really strong opinions about really sort of niche things. Like I had a stand up set that was like all about Oreos and like what I thought about Oreos and which Oreos were good. Just like go really, really hard on like a very inconsequential subject. And then me and my boyfriend started a show in Chicago called Haters Club. And Haters Club was like a roasting show. We would like roast certain topics. Like we roasted
Nice.
restaurants as like a concept. Yeah. So it was kind of like just traditional sort of complaining, I guess.
That sounds perfect to me. I love listening to people complain. um, Julie, thank you so much for joining us. Julie says, I truly adore all of the conversations that the show promotes. So thank you both for hosting and speaking. I hope everyone's doing well today. Thank you so much for
Whoa,
saying that,
thanks,
Julie.
Julie.
And I hope you're feeling better today. I know you mentioned that you were feeling a little bit down earlier in the day. So I did 2 streams today. I did it at 10 a.m. and I did it at, I'm doing it now.
Oh,
And I
nice.
noticed that you have started to stream video games as well. Is that something that you just started
Yes.
recently, or what sort of games are you planning to do on Twitch as well?
I have wanted to stream on Twitch for a couple years now, and I've been scheming to buy this gaming PC for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just never gotten around to it. And then recently, I was lucky enough to be able to buy this iMac from a friend of mine. She's a
Whoa.
graphic designer, and her job
Mhm.
like gave it to her. So she like
Nice.
sold me this iMac, me and Danny this iMac for like really cheap. And so now I have this gaming computer finally. And of course, I like really weird, obscure adventure point and click games. I think you do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to stream these weird games for people. And so I have just kind of like just gotten started doing it because I got the computer.
Mm-hmm.
You need the hardware.
Absolutely. What's it like running things off of the Mac? I know some people talk about it's like it's not the traditional gaming computer, but for what you're playing, it's the point and click, the point and click stuff, or the sort of indie sort of gaming. What's it like? What's it like running off of your Mac? What are your specs like?
I wouldn't know the difference between my Mac and something else. I'm like
Okay.
so computer illiterate. I am such a strange age where I'm like not a Gen Xer and I'm not I like grew up when computers were sort of being introduced into the home
Mm-hmm.
and I was like super attracted to using computers and playing video games, but I didn't start using them young enough to really get a sense of like how I'm so bad with the technology. Like people have to help me. I learned how to BCC on an email like last year. Blind carbon copy.
Right.
You know how to BCC? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. It's kind of the
Yeah.
yeah. I think I knew that before they even taught it to me, because it was like email was the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like email and like AIM was sort of like, oh, like, because that was my introduction to the internet, or at least like, oh, these are new ways to communicate with people. I was very much in the optimistic sort of camp of what the internet could be, and then it just ended up like all the bars just kept on going low just because of what everyone was doing with the internet. Like the Flash animations I saw, I definitely burned a bunch of more brain cells than I did drinking by watching a bunch of Flash animations, like Newgrounds and all that stuff. But the internet was really scary. Like, I mean, YouTube itself was also pretty fucking weird once it started off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's his, Donald Glover was talking about it in an interview once about how when he started his comedy troupe, it was during a time where people didn't know comedy was a thing on YouTube. It was just a place for people to make random videos of them falling off their pogo sticks. And here we
That sounds
are.
funny.
Right? And then now here, like Donald Glover is doing these like really niche sort of like comedy sketches and sort of paving the way for a lot of other people to be doing that too. I mean, like Smosh was a really popular thing back then. Did you ever sort of get into that idea of like getting into sketch comedy or like web series? Because I know that's a part of like the comedic ploy, and be like, oh, let's either do a podcast, a web series, a sketch show, or something like that.
I'm like, I am so terrible at sketch. I'm like I'm such a like failed comedian in a certain way, because improv I didn't like, and then sketch I was not very good at. And then I like stand up because it's just me by myself and I'm completely in charge and I'm playing. When you're like doing stand up, as you know, you're kind of playing a character that's like you but a little heightened.
Right.
And so I had an idea to do this web series, and the web series was called Amazing Animals Around Chicago. And I filmed it with my roommate, Thomas, who's also a performer. And we're sitting on top of a mountain of footage right now, and we're trying to do something with it.
That could be something where, because I really liked movies about projects that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And they like film portions of themselves now and saying like, yeah, this is footage from when we did it back then, and turning it into sort of like a documentary now sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we could do that. So
yeah,
the Amazing Animals was, I will take any and all suggestions for this project. It started out, it was inspired by, I really like Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Wild Boys. Remember the Jackass spinoff that was like Chris Pontius and Steve-O, Wild Boys?
Yeah.
So it was like inspired by Steve Irwin, Wild Boys, and just sort of like an interview show. And me and Thomas went and met these people who had crazy animals. We went to this farm and we met a camel. We met hedgehog breeders, and it was just me going to meet them and asking them, about their animals and holding the animals and stuff. It was sort of like wacky animal show.
Yeah, I imagine the eccentricity was almost to Joe Exotic levels, meeting these people.
Joe Exotic, yeah, totally. Okay. I love animals so much. I got really into bird videos online. Like, I feel like early internet was like cat videos.
Right.
Like Keyboard Cat. And then a couple of years ago, I was coming across bird videos like you wouldn't believe. Tons and tons of parrots and cockatiels and birds.
Yeah.
And
I
all these short
love hawk videos. Like hearing a hawk just screech. Mm-hmm. Those are so
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself one day, I want to meet these animals. Mm-hmm. My friend Thomas was like, show where you would meet the animals.
That's a great
So one day,
normally it's just
you
a
might
segment.
See the footage. yeah, this is a whole show about it.
It's a whole show, which is great because that's what was so great about like Zimboomafoo, Steve Irwin, all of those animal shows growing up. I love that idea. I would love to see some of that footage one day.
Well, we'll try.
And then, so I am also interested in your experience with gaming as well. You said you even subscribed to Loot Crate, and that Silent Hill was one of your favorite games. What was your introduction to gaming growing up, and what is your relationship now? I know you said you of course you like to stream the point and click games, but like how has that evolved? I know you mentioned Persona 5 at least once before.
Yes, I just beat Persona 5 a few months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. What a game. Let me take you to the beginning. I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than me. And I was born in 1983. So we're talking like, as soon as I'm able to walk, talk, and play games, we're talking late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching my brother play NES. And I'm playing all these NES games. And I remember very specifically, I grew up with a bunch of girl cousins. And little kids that are a group of girls are really crazy. They scream at each other and they're like, shut up. Girls can be like really intense with each other. So we would play like this NHL hockey game on the NES and get really mad at each other when we like beat each other. So I remember like just fighting with my girl cousins and like getting really heated over the video games. And then I got a Super Nintendo and I played Super Mario RPG. Have you ever played that game?
Yes, I remember when I first learned about it, I thought it was a bootleg game that wasn't released by Nintendo, just because the packaging and like the menus, they just like, this doesn't look like the Mario brand.
Yeah, and then when you play it, it was the very first RPG I've ever played, and I didn't know what an RPG was. Role-playing game.
Right.
And so when I played that game, I was like, what the hell? Games can be like this? It was the coolest game I'd ever played by like a million bajillion. I think Squaresoft made it for Nintendo.
Interesting.
Right? I think.
That might have been why it just seemed so distinct from everything else they were releasing. I will do a quick
It's so
research.
different from any other Mario game. And so when I played that, I was like, okay, hell yeah, I love RPGs. And then I played Final Fantasy VII, and that was like a big, huge Hallmark game for me.
Have you played
And then
the
I would
remake
say after that, yes, I love it. I think it's so good.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't gotten.
Do you like it?
I've
I
seen
thought you were about to be
gameplay.
like, I hate it.
No, not whatsoever. I've watched a lot of streams, and I've taken that experience as like me playing it and saying that it's a great fucking game. It just looks amazing.
I was
The
super
story
happy
is
playing it. It like
vamped up.
yeah, it hit for me. It was so good. And then I got really into Mass Effect. Did you ever play Mass Effect?
I had friends who were into Mass Effect. I was more of a Halo kid.
Oh, Halo. Yes, Mass Effect. Much more kind of storytelling stuff. And then after I played Mass Effect, I kind of put video games down for a few years, and I was like, okay, I feel sort of like I'm wasting time when I'm gaming. I just kind of like got disengaged. I think something kind of like didn't connect with me. There was no game that I played that I really liked. And then I got really back into video games when quarantine started, because I almost felt like I had permission to waste time. I feel like video games really can be like a waste of time. You know, you get really sucked in.
Yeah, especially if you're not processing anything at the time, and I don't know, I guess like if you're not going for competitively and you just want to get really good at this game, then it's just sort of like a flex, you know? Then it's sort of like, you know, buying really cool sneakers, you know, like what are you gonna nerd out about? And that's funny because I love deconstructing the idea of nerd on my show that I do on Thursday nights. But like, yeah, there's nerdiness in all sort of aspects. I mean, even the people who are like car junkies and stuff like that, those are nerds. You're nerding out about how a car works. Shoes, you're nerding out about all this different types of art.
Totally.
Yeah, so I really see no difference between that. I mean, I wouldn't call that a waste of time as much as I would call the, you know, games a waste of time if you're like, I don't know. Because I think another thing too is that if you're doing it with the community aspect of multiplayer gameplay, it's like, okay, the squad is going to get good. I have to get good so that I can play with the squad, you know? Because
yes,
I'm playing a first-person shooter right now, Valorant, and I am crap at that game. But I have a lot of fun playing it, and I don't think I can continue playing it just because of how sad everyone is around me after they lose. And I'm just like,
oh no,
yeah, let's play a game. And they're just like, I don't know, man. I'm feeling real tilted. I have to go to bed.
Oh my god, that's not good.
Right.
For the game to leave you in that emotional space, that's not good.
Yeah. But you know, I guess when you do accomplish that, it's a way better feeling of accomplishment than I think maybe, I don't know, graduating college or like landing in a promotion. It's like I beat that 10-year-old at Valorant.
Totally. And yeah, haha. You are so right when you say that like any kind of like culture can be nerd culture. But like within our, let me just say the word again, within our culture, certain things are cool and certain things are uncool. Like if you're really, really into fashion, I used to work at a clothing store, and the way that my coworkers would talk about fashion and think about it was so nerdy. But because they like looked cool, and fashion has like this glamorous sort of like sheen to it, you're not uncool if you're like a fashion nerd. And then I feel like sports are like untouchably cool. Like if you like sports, you're such a cool person. And I'm not knocking that, but it's strange to me that you are just cool if you like sports, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Is
like
it, though?
music,
I mean,
you're
like,
cool.
I think I just think that the discourse is like it's no longer like people don't shame people for liking sports, but it's just like people talk shit about people who like sports like all the time.
Oh, like the sports ball
Yeah,
crowd?
sports ball, like, and all that sort of vocabulary. And like I enjoy the experience of watching sports with my father, with other gentlemen. I don't particularly like the competitive aspect of it, and I don't really know what to be rooting for. But that being said, basketball is really fucking fun to play on PlayStation. Football is really fun to play on PlayStation, or like, yeah. So I guess that's like my sort of like nerding out when it comes to, sports, which is definitely underneath the like making the brackets, because like if you didn't have a bracket in high school, you were not cool.
and bracket, what's bracket?
March Madness. So all of the colleges facing off against each other, and so you create a competition bracket. And then whoever gets the 1-by-1 is like you win the pot, but like you couldn't gamble in high school, so it's just like you're cool because sports, teams.
Yeah, I think no one should be shamed for having like an intense knowledge of something. Yeah. Like nerdiness shouldn't be shamed across the board. I think it's good that people like sports. I think it's good that people like fashion, and I do think that we're at a turning point with video games. Gamers rise up. There are so many types of games now. Right. We're all stuck inside. Games are so fun. It's not really like the old idea of gamer of like, oh, you pathetic loser, lonely person or whatever.
Right.
Well, I get called that on the street, pathetic loser, lonely person.
Right. And you're just like, I have tons of friends on Switch. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I have fun in my game land.
Right. But then the game land sort of transcends, especially during this year, where it's like, since we're all confined to our sort of houses and our sort of lockdown areas, you get to have the sort of experiences that you had in real life in video games. Particularly, I think of like Animal Crossing, or like any sort of collaborative gameplay where it doesn't necessarily involve like a cooperation sort of thing. It's just like, okay, we're just hanging out within this video game world, sort of getting to that like idea and like Ready Player One of like this like virtual existence and staying there.
I love Animal Crossing, and I love any game that pulls a person. If a game can make a non-gamer into a gamer, I think that is so special and cool.
Right.
And I think it's really stupid when gamers gatekeep the culture of gaming. And they're like, oh, well, Animal Crossing's not a real game. Yeah, it is. And everyone's allowed to game. And you're not, it's like this weird, it's almost like touching on like incel thinking where it's like, oh, I'm such a loser. Nobody likes me. And it's like, as soon as somebody likes what you like, you're like, no, you can't have this. This is mine. It's my incel thing. And it's like, well, do you want people to be interested in your interests or not? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I went on a crazy tangent there.
No, I don't think he went on a tangent at all. I think he went exactly where I wanted to, because I wanted to get to this idea about gatekeeping, because gatekeeping happens like across the board with all things that are considered nerdy or like less cool than what people can be nerding out about. I mean, like there's like the Marvel movies, the Batman movies, and how just like the popularity of those things rise, where it's just like, okay, we used to be made fun of in high school for liking comics, liking these particular characters, and now it's more of just like, these are blockbuster films, everyone's going to these movies, and maybe these people don't read the comics, and that's fine. That is okay.
Yeah,
but it's the
fine.
fact that because we liked it, or because we liked the IP, we were shunned, and therefore these people are being welcomed in with open arms, and they're just like, no, you don't get that. You don't get that experience. You get to suffer in the same way. I don't know. I think this sort of idea transcends all the way to politics too, where it's just like, no handouts. I had to work hard for it. You got to work hard on it too,
Yeah. It is such a stupid stick in the mud way to think about things. We should all be welcoming people to constantly have an open mind and be changing the way they think and changing their interests. And if anybody is a beginner at anything, the best thing you can do is to make that person feel welcome. And like, why wouldn't you welcome someone into a community that they're like trying to join, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I'd love to know, what are your I guess, like, aspirations when it comes to Twitch. I mean, you became affiliate not too long ago.
Yes.
Maybe we can talk shop right now.
Yes. My aspirations for Twitch is to figure out how it works. I don't know how it works whatsoever. You were, when we were messaging about me being on the show, you were like, you need emotes. And I said, yeah, I do need emotes. I don't know how to make emotes. And
well,
just give me the basics.
The thing I loved so much about your layout are the three things you have there. You have the game that I would play all the time at Chuck E. Cheese when I was like maybe 5 to like 7 years old. The one where you would click the button and it would jump over the jump rope. What's the name of that character? It's right in the middle of your layout.
Oh, the frog?
The frog. The frog is like a video game character.
Is it? That little frog is a clock that my friend bought for me. It's a little alarm clock, and I play the song at the beginning of my show.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I didn't know that. I guess I didn't catch the beginning. I always like catch it maybe like 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in. But that.
Oh yeah, the beginning's really weird. I play this strange song off this frog alarm clock.
I got to hear the song because I think it might be that video game character I'm thinking about. It was in like an arcade game, and I think it was very popular. So I'll check it out next time.
Next time when I'm doing CBS and I see you pop up in the chat, I'll play the song for you again.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. You'll also need mods. I'm sure you know what mods are.
Mods?
Moderators.
Are they watch the comment section to make sure nothing's going down in the comments?
Yeah. Also, if you like do chat commands, so I have a bot in my channel. I also have a little friend that's hanging out with us at the bottom of my screen. His name's Capamon. So if anybody like comments in the chat who hasn't commented before, they'll say a little hello to them. If people give me bits, the little Capamon eats some cookies and stuff like that. For the most part, I just keep Capamon sleeping. But
I see Capamon.
Yeah, but Nightbot is pretty much what everybody has, where it's like it's this little robot that lives in your chat, and you can add commands to it so that you could shout out another streamer. You could put your links in the chat, so that if anyone wanted to follow you on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, they could do it by just putting in a chat command like !socials. That's how you can do it on my account anyway.
Cool.
I also have it so that there's a timer on my Nightbot, so every about 30 or 25 minutes, the tip jar goes up. So if anybody wanted to tip you and they didn't have the money to just like subscribe, they could throw you like $3 for a coffee, or they could, Venmo you whatever they want. So those are possibilities of way to make it lucrative, but there's also, you could use the same things to just make it fun. Like if you were to do !hug in my chat, you would hug someone randomly in the chat. But also if you put someone's name after command hug, you can give that person a particular hug. So
if I do !hug and hug somebody
into the chat,
I'm gonna do it. Wait, I'm doing it now.
You hugged yourself.
Hugged myself.
I love how that works out.
How very quarantine.
What is up, Trevor? Thank you for joining us in the chat. Also, Julie says, "Oh, that's so cute what the reindeer does. It's so cute." Yeah. Ideas for everyone else's stream if they're thinking about getting Capamon. It is free. You can get this reindeer free. You can get a cat free and a robot free. You can buy other ones too.
Cool.
Yeah, and then there's channel points, and then you can like I'm excited about what you're gonna do for channel points. For me, I go crazy. I'm 10,000 points, and you get a shot.
That's awesome. Oh, channel points. I need to do that. Oh yes, I'll be doing that.
And then you can call them whatever you want. You can call them gummy bears. You can call them. I call them hops because I'm always into beer. Tonight's beer is.
Oh, are you?
the Bait and Click from 18th Street Brewery over in Hammond, Indiana. It's really good. Tastes like black tea.
Wow, black tea. That's yummy. One of my favorite beers is, have you ever had Hitachino?
Yes, love Hitachino. There's like
Pretty
5 different ones of
expensive
them.
beer.
The plum
Yeah.
beer is probably my favorite one.
It's so delicious. I'm a bit of a Japanophile. I took
Awesome.
Japanese language in college. I became a Japanophile because I loved video games so much, and I subscribed to like Nintendo Power and GamePro. I subscribed to all those magazines back in the day, and discovered that a lot of video games are from Japan. Thus began my, love affair of Japanese culture stuff.
Right. I loved looking at like videos of people going into like video game cafes or internet cafes and just seeing people just do gaming, like smoking cigs, drinking beers, playing at a desktop computer and just going at it. And they're in such an intense mode. And I was just like, this is the place to be. This is where I got to go.
Yeah, games are like super cool in this country. What the hell? I want to live there.
Apparently, the PSP is still very much popular in Japan.
That's surprising to hear.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you play it on the train.
Right. And of course, the Switch is still popular, but you can get like a PSP from Japan for like $100, which is cool to me because PSP was one of my favorite gaming systems.
Really?
I was trying to get all of the like pioneering like game devices that were portable. I had a Game Boy SP. I had the Game Gear, which was like a Sega contraption.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was so huge. It was really big. It was maybe like
yes,
5
big and
pounds.
chunky. I think I played Echo the Dolphin on that.
I love Echo the Dolphin. Big Sega fan. Oh, real
Yes.
trippy. Like a dolphin sending psychic energy to another animal to get them to follow. That game was also really hard.
Really hard. The music was super cool, kind of vaporwave sort of vibes. I'm into any game that doesn't feel like a normal video game. If it feels a little bit weird and a little bit off, I like love it. I love kind of like breaking the mold. And Donkey Kong Country, probably some of the best video game music ever made.
I would agree, especially the whole Donkey Kong universe has really good stuff, like the Donkey Kong rap. I don't know if you played Donkey Kong 64.
I think I did.
Yeah, that one was like the RPG of Donkey Kong. And it had this dope rap, which I think is like now 20 or 25 years old, and people were like reposting it on Twitter and be like, yo, these lyrics still slap.
Timeless. I want to hear what your favorite games are, or the games that kind of like affected you in your gaming journey.
Thank you for asking. I grew up with gaming sisters. They were really into gaming, and their first console was the Sega Genesis. So Sonic the Hedgehog was definitely a big influence, and I think I don't give it enough credit because I remember watching even the Sonic the Hedgehog show when I was a kid. Eating my hard-boiled eggs and watching Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons.
Hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah, that was me. I was a hard-boiled egg eater. And then I got really into card games. I got really into Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, so definitely Pokemon Red Blue, which the soundtrack for Pokemon Red Blue is still amazing.
So good.
Pioneer the trap game. The trap beats are all in Pokemon Red Blue. From then on, I think the first game that I really got serious about was Kingdom Hearts. The first Kingdom Hearts game.
Oh, yes.
Because that was my introduction to the entire world of Final Fantasy. After I played Kingdom Hearts, I went on to Final Fantasy VII. I went on to Final Fantasy X, X-2. I was really into that. Dropped off for a second there. And I can't really...
The games got weird.
Yeah, the games got really weird. I still think that Kingdom Hearts 2 is like one of my favorite games of all time. But I think between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, I was playing a bunch of skateboarding games and Halo. I did like a journey between like I was PS2 and then I was Xbox 360 and now I'm back at PS4. But that was like a relationship of like 10 to 15 years. So it's just like an on-off relationship with PlayStation and Xbox.
And have you played Persona 5?
I have not played Persona 5. Very interested in doing it.
I highly recommend it.
Excellent.
It's you really get immersed in the world, and you will play that game for months. It took me over 100 hours to beat that game. You really get sucked in, but it's worth it.
That's interesting that you say 100 hours, because going back to the idea of gatekeeping and saying that people aren't gamers for playing Animal Crossing, like the amount of hours that people put into making their own island. And some people don't even mention how long they've been playing the game because they're like, oh, it's embarrassing. And they'll clock in like 1,000 hours. Like playing.
You want to hear something crazy? So my boyfriend is also a gamer. He loves Super Smash Brothers.
He's playing that right now,
He's playing it right now. He just got into Elite Smash, if you know what Elite Smash is.
I don't. Could you tell me a little bit more about Elite Smash?
Elite Smash is when you get up enough global Smash points, and you are in the top 4% of global Super Smash players.
Wow.
It's crazy. He's crazy good. It's so frustrating playing against him. I used to play him at Super Smash, and he would kind of train me. That game is really difficult. And at this point, I don't think I wouldn't be able to play him. He's too good. And he has played for 850 hours.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's why he's elite.
That's why he's elite.
Yeah.
And I respect the hell out of him.
What consoles do you have in the house?
Right now, we have a PS4 and a Nintendo Switch. And Danny wants to get an Xbox because he wants to play Halo. And I want to get a PS5 because I want to play that cat game.
The cat game?
They advertised some when the PS5 trailer came out, there was it looked like Cyberpunk, but you're a cat.
Okay. Cat game.
I don't even know the name. You're like, yeah, look it up.
I think it's called Stray. Should we watch a trailer?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, watch it. And it's kind of like, it looks like it has Cyberpunk colors.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer right now. I'm just going to put the visuals on the screen so people know what we're talking about. And we can comment over it. Okay, great.
Yeah, I've got to play this game.
And here we go. Annapurna made it. Annapurna makes those fucking indie movies. What are they doing making video games?
What movies have they made?
Annapurna is... Let me see. I gotta open lots of windows right now. Rest in peace, humans. Ooh, so you're a cat in a sort of dystopian universe where it's humans are dead and it's only robots? This is great. The last game that I played that was
so cool.
It looks great. Oh yeah, I'm definitely getting the Cyberpunk vibes too. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I wonder how is it just going to be observing things? What sort of actions can the cat do? This is not like the cat's going to.
I bet it's going to be kind of.
Go ahead.
Maybe it'll be Metal Gear Solid style, stealth missions and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that is a great idea. This looks beautiful.
It looks so fun.
It's going to look great in the PS5, too.
I have no idea when it's supposed to come out.
Okay. Annapurna Pictures have made movies like Booksmart, American Hustle, Zero Dark 30, Sausage Party, Hustlers, Missing Link, and Her.
Aha, I've only seen a few of those. I saw Her.
What'd you think of that one?
Stray. What did I think of Her?
Yeah. Because I think it's a very...
I liked it.
Sort of poignant film about relationships through the internet, and I don't know, because you have a unique perspective on internet culture, and how do you what's your relationship with social media and the sort of self-promotion that has to go into bringing yourself to a voice. And I guess we can use that as a way to close out the show, unless you wanted to hang out for a little bit more.
Yeah, I think social media, I try to post on social media if I have something purposeful to say.
Mm-hmm.
I use Instagram and Twitter. With Twitter, I try to write funny tweets. I really do try to be kind of funny. I'll usually keep my tweets like in a draft, and I will kind of edit them until I think they're funny enough to post. I try not to like waste people's time on social media. I feel like a lot of people are posting willy-nilly, posting boring, stupid crap. And my major criticism with social media is if I see something I don't like on Instagram, I say to myself, this could have been a text to a friend. Where it's like sometimes people will post stuff and they'll post something like, feeling lonely today, so, I tidied up my room. Here's a picture of my room. And that's like such a nice thought. But I feel like when you post it on Instagram, you're just kind of like throwing it out into the ether. And it's like, don't you think if you texted that to a friend and then the friend texted back, you would get so much more of a validation and an emotional connection? I think people look to social media to meet an emotional need, and I think it's a middleman. I think you can bypass Instagram and just text a friend and get a much more warm validation. Mm-hmm. That's maybe a little bit cynical and a little bit judgy on my part.
I think you're hitting on a very valid truth about using becoming too dependent on maybe a social aspect of what is no longer a social construct. It is very much a marketplace.
Totally.
Where it was like, okay, maybe you only had like 30 people you followed and you see those 30 people in real life. So it's just like, oh, I've got this funny thing that 30 people will definitely relate to. And, I guess it's cringeworthy to think about the days where you only got like 5 likes on an Instagram post,
It's kind of funny and cute to remember.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like the thing that I got, I guess, sort of catatonic about, I had this like maybe like waking dream about, was that, man, people message me more on Instagram and Facebook. I haven't gotten a text in years. People want to like set up like these like voice chats and stuff like that. No one's called me on the phone in years. And so I know some people don't like cold calls. I do like cold calls, especially if I'm getting one.
Me too.
And then me giving one as well. And then I remember giving my friend a cold call. I think it was like 2 years after we had graduated, and like we text each other. We were living in different states. We hadn't seen each other a really long time. And so I called them. I just wanted to say like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I just wanted to see how you're doing, if you were available to talk about stuff like that. And they started crying. They're just like, no one has called me in a whole year. Except for, of course, for like their parents. And I was just like, oh, that's a really sad thing. It's like, because we could be scheduling calls, if you're not okay with the cold call sort of thing. But man, even the people that I'm like, I consider my best friends, have a really hard time about reaching out. Is that something that is hard
and it's
for
like
you to do?
we're so. No, not at all. I love reaching out and I love bugging people, and it always feels so good. It feels similar to posting on social media, except 100 times better.
Right.
And I feel like I feel like I have a lot of friends who are shifting off of social media, because if you don't have it, then it forces you to reach out. And it just is so much better to just directly connect with a friend than to vaguely post something on social media and then get a vague, 70 likes from, 50 acquaintances. It's just sort of like you're casting this huge net, but you want to just catch this special little goldfish, which is like a wonderful 20-minute conversation with a good friend.
Absolutely. Well,
but I try to use,
No, please go ahead.
Oh, I try to just use Instagram to let people know how to, watch my show and sort of like use it as like a funnel to be like, hey, come over here. I'm trying to make a little bit of artistic stuff for you to enjoy if you care to enjoy it.
Right. And I just have one more question before we wrap things up, if that's okay.
Yes,
it-
it's okay.
It is, do you find difficulty in sort of translating what you do as something that is cool and authentic to the people who think about Twitch as this sort of place that's like for really like intense gaming? Because I think the difficulty I'm facing is that I don't do Twitch the traditional way. In the same way that you don't do Twitch the traditional way, that you host this talk show, you know, in the mornings I do art for like maybe an hour, and then I go into a video game, or I do vice versa. And for the evening, I'll go into a talk show, I'll invite someone really cool on, and then we'll just have a conversation. And I'll do the same thing on a Thursday where I'll do art, maybe play a game, and then have a talk show at the evening night. And then I'll do a late night stream where I do like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. That's my sort of game that I do. But I think it's like, it's hard to like pull the sort of clout and the following that I've made over the years and get them onto Twitch. Are you facing that sort of difficulty?
Totally. But I think like for me, I'm going to make Twitch work for me. I'm not going to work for Twitch because I'm trying to do something really unique and special. And so are you. And you and I are both out there. And I think there's probably people who, people like us who feel alienated from Twitch, who maybe think of it as this hardcore gaming platform. But if you and I keep doing this and keep like forcing our friends and people that are like-minded onto Twitch, then, you know, we can kind of like pull that community. We can kind of create that community.
I couldn't agree more, because Twitch has become my programming. I spend more time on Twitch than I do on like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, like cable. We even pay for cable, for God's sakes. But I'm on Twitch like 24/7 because there's musicians here. There's people doing art. There's people who maybe have like 10 to 15 followers who will address you personally, and just you feel like you're hanging out with somebody. It's really cool.
Totally.
Yeah. Garm, thank you for the sippy sip. I will be taking a sip of my beer. Kate, thank you so much for being on the show. You are always welcome to come back.
Woohoo! I had a great time. Thank you. I'm gonna have to have you on California Boring Show.
I would love that idea. Let me know when you're thinking.
Okay,
tell
cool.
us what is the next time you're going live? Do you know?
Yes, I am doing a holiday show with my friend Megan Strickland. My friend Megan is a comedian, and we're doing a holiday show December 15th. And the theme is holidays / Ratatouille. Because we're going to talk about the movie Ratatouille, because there's lots to unpack there, as I'm sure you know.
Absolutely. That was the most up-to-date ride at Paris Disneyland.
Cool. Oh my God. To ride the Ratatouille ride in Paris, that's what I have to do first thing after quarantine's over.
Yeah, it was quote-unquote chef's kiss.
Well, now I know what my plans are.
Yeah. Have a great night. Give my best to your boyfriend, and I hope he gets the crown this year for Smash Elite.
Me too. I think he will.
All right. I'm going to give a little bit of a chat to my followers over here, but thank you so much for coming on. Have a great night.
Yeah, nice talking to you. Bye.
Bye, Kate. That was Kate O'Connor, the host of the California Boring Show. That was such a great conversation. I think that it's probably best if I leave it at that and upload this to YouTube, because that was probably the best run show I've done for like Braving New Worlds. The connection was great. Really great banter. I'm going to be playing Control tonight. I was thinking about streaming that tonight, but since we only got about 4 viewers right here, I'd rather just like send you off to someone who is going to be a little bit more engaging. So let me just check out who's online right now. How's everyone doing tonight? Who's left in the chat? Did y'all have dinner? Did y'all eat something? Are y'all sipping on something? I thought someone might redeem a shot tonight, but I guess that's not going to happen. Oh, thank you, Kate. Let's give Kate a hug. Hug. California. California. All right. Let's see. What do we got? Thank you so much for coming. You were so lovely. Also, am here-ish. No problem. I'm going to send you off to someone real cool. There's a lot of cool people online. Let's see who's left. Let's see. Ooh, Ori and the Blind Forest. That's a really good game. And Alex is online, a.k.a. Gory Boy. So we are going to raid Alex. You're going to really like this. This game, it looks beautiful. It's a side scroller. I don't know if you know about Ori Will of the Wisps. I believe this is the sequel. So, let's all give a warm welcome to Gory Boy. Oh, that is not the command. There we go. All right. Thank you so much for coming by. We're going to be live on Thursday with Maria Caputo, a.k.a. Always Dignity, who is of the band Classy Dame. She is going to be performing some music for us. So that's going to be at 10 a.m. Central Time on Thursday. And then we have another episode of Nerd Gaze coming up on Thursday night. Julie, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for streaming. Kurt, take care. Nicest words, really warms my heart, Julie. And I will see you in the Discord, okay? All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Brown Michael Cera, Kurt Santana, a.k.a. Courtney Love. Goodbye.
How's it going? Just in time. I just started the game. Hello. Glad to see that people could join. Thank you for the raid. Excited for this. I've never played this. You stay on the Will of the Wisps. That's the sequel.